sex in the pews, sex in the pews, sex in the pews.
Sex in the pews.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful day in Tampa Bay for Hump Day, Wednesday, January 16th, 2019. The only 1/16/2019 in the history of humanity. Let us continue to choose on purpose, with a purpose, to give a great day. Greetings, you beautiful humans. This is Glenn Klein.
And Owen Pratt.
Welcome into the Pews, Sex in the Pews, episode dos. Little Spanish lingo.
Un poquito español para mi gente latina.
Do you speak Spanish?
Soy aprender.
What did you just say?
Little español for my Spanish-speaking people.
Nice. How are you?
Amazing. How are you, Glenn?
Oh, and I have no complaints, but thank you so much for caring enough to ask.
I'm a carer and a giver.
I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm excited about this episode and the guests that we have coming up from the great city of Chicago, the very lovely and talented Jaclyn Moore. But before we do, I want to get into really why we're doing what we're doing and how this whole thing started. This whole male and female thing started.
Talk to me.
The first recorded story of a male-female connection was, of course, in the ancient Hebrew scriptures, the Torah, the book of Genesis, the Tanakh, Adam and Eve in the good old Garden of Eden. Interestingly enough, now even science says that we all come from an original couple. Our genetics are so close. Our DNA is so near each other's that they can trace it back to an original couple. You know how they have this, what the hell is that thing? Not eHarmony is a fucking dating site. What's the
23andMe?
Well, there's 23andMe, which is an offshoot of
Genealogy.com.
No, what is that .com thing? It's not genealogy. It's God damn it! I hate when that happens. Well, no, come on, help me.
This is all
Our friend Mike would know.
Ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com. Thank you so much. Ancestry.com was started by Mormons. Ancestry.com was started by Mormons because there's a tenet in Mormonism. They take one passage out of the Bible that talks. There's a obscure passage that talks about being baptized for the dead. And Joseph Smith, the founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, made an entire doctrine out of one verse. It's a big one, as so many whacked out religions do. Well, all religions are whacked out. Do you know that religion actually means something? The word religion? It actually means to put back under bondage. It's from the Latin word religare, to re-legion. And the concept of the new covenant, if you will, is that we've been freed from bondage, from the bondage of sin, if you will. Now, spiritually speaking, we'll get way more in depth in this over time. But for the sake of discussion, is Christianity really screwed this whole thing up? And they took verses out of context. They made up a concept of an everlasting punishment called hell that doesn't exist anywhere in both the Jewish scriptures and the New Testament writings. And they messed it up so bad by taking these one verses or these variety of verses and mistranslating them, misinterpreting them for the sake of control over people. The actual concept, the actual revelation of the scriptures, of the Jewish scriptures, and the interpretation or the translations, the commentaries, if you will, of especially this Jewish guy named Saul, the Apostle Paul, is that we were freed. There's a famous quote, "It is for freedom that Christ set you free." Free from what? Free from any obligation at all to do anything, including believing your way to heaven or to righteousness or to relationship with God. With God. Duh. And so here comes religion to do what? To religion, to put you back under bondage. And one of the ways that religions do this is they'll just take a passage, a verse from a holy book like what religions consider a holy book, like the New Testament writings, as the Mormons did, and say, you got to be baptized for the dead. And so what Mormons do, if you're like a really serious Mormon and you're wearing the holy underwear and shit like that, they have like they call it they're again.
Ask the next Mormon you see.
They have a misguided, misinterpreted manifestation and execution of a passage talking about a holy garment, and they put it as underwear. We had some Mormon guys come up to our studio doors the other day. That was fun. I asked them if they had the holy underwear on.
Sure enough.
The secret underwear. And but you have to attain to the secret underwear. One of the ways you do it is by the sacrament of being baptized for the dead. But first, before you're baptized for the dead, you must research people who have already gone on to whatever's out there after we croak. And so here comes, out of that, Ancestry.com.
Thank you, Mormonism.
Mormonism is no more screwed up than any other sect of religion. What religion is about is control. And if you can control people in their sexuality, and if you can control people in their attitudes towards sex and their genitals, you really got control over folks.
They got their hand wrapped around the most important, holiest of holies, if you will.
They
got a grip on the holiest of holies.
The holiest of holies. It's one of the reasons that what Donald Trump claimed to do and what Billy Bush laughed about in that famous Entertainment Tonight, I don't know if it was an Entertainment Tonight video, but it was one of those entertainment shows that Billy Bush, I think it was Entertainment Tonight, was that he was grabbing the holiest of holes without permission. That's not good.
No.
That's unacceptable.
You hear that, Christianity?
And he said that Trump said that he didn't do it. He was just joking about it. But who the fuck would joke about something like that if they had not done it? And who would brag about something like that unless they thought it was a fun thing to do? Not only did Trump get elected president, but Billy Bush lost his gig. And that was years before the campaign. So if religion, or as religion controls people's thoughts on sex, and this has been happening since the founding of the United States of America, the people that came over originally were called Puritans. They named themselves Puritans. You know how fucked up they must have been sexually?
So dirty.
Don't name yourself something that you're trying to be. That I can tell you. It reminds me of that old, they may still be around, but when I was your age, they had a men's group that was called Promise Keepers. Promise Keepers. It was headed by the former head coach of the University of Colorado Buffaloes football team, Bill McCartney. Oh, you were going to...
I got you.
You already did your research?
I did.
Is that what you're talking
prepared?
Bill McCartney. And, of course, it was a huge scandal around his family. His daughter was fucking the quarterback, and she already promised not to. And
promise breaker.
It would have been better to name themselves promise breakers. They would have broken less promises if they would have named themselves promise breakers. That's the problem with making this commitment that they make the kids make to be abstinent before getting married. It's like you almost guarantee that Paul, the aforementioned Jewish apostle Paul, he said this. He said, the law, the 10 Commandments, and the 603 other laws,
613
total, were actually given not to give a blueprint for living, not to give a way of conducting a holy and righteous life. Paul understood. He was a scriptural scholar. And he said that the reason that God did that to Israel and gave them that law was to actually add power to what they were already being tempted with. People are obviously tempted to have sex with multiple people. So, I know, let's have a law and say, once you commit to a lifelong relationship with this person, you're never allowed to have sex with anybody else the rest of your life.
Boom.
Good luck with that one. That's like guaranteeing failure. Nobody has ever, no, hardly by percentage, relatively small percentage, have men ever gone their entire life without having sex with somebody else, by percentage. And now women are adding to that percentage because of freedom. Thank God. If you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your significant other not to have sex with somebody else, tell them they can. Give them freedom.
How do you reckon?
Because the way to release that added temptation is to take it away.
Some of the best sex I've ever had was guilty sex.
What do you mean by that, Owen Pratt?
Well, some of you may or may not know I was once a fairly religious, bound human being. I was trying my best to be the best Christian boy I could to earn my way, to just get God as close to me as I could by performing and behaving and not doing certain things and doing certain things that the Christianity told me I needed to do. And
did you make the movement in Christianity is called Love Waits. Did you make that public pronunciation and proclamation that you would be chaste until marriage?
The answer is yes, in the form of a sermon that I attended where they preached about the importance of waiting until marriage and being abstinent, or what's the other one? Doesn't matter. But waiting until marriage, and I sure enough raised my hand. I walked up to the altar so convinced and dedicated to
chaste, abstinent and chaste. Chastity.
Celibate.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's your whole life, though.
Celibate.
But anyway, so I was in the middle.
Did celibacy including masturbation?
I mean, it's my experience was that the Christianity's got this weird attitude where it's like sex is like that. There's a scale, and masturbation's like an easy sin for God to forgive, so you can get away with doing it every once in a while if you're really sorry.
In our congregation, before I escaped the clutches of ridiculous religion when I was a young adult, the rule was you could jerk off as long as you didn't think about anybody.
Yeah.
Try that for size, ladies and gentlemen. Well, and so what the Christianity has done is with this Love Waits and what Owen was involved in is that they have services, and you walk down an aisle and you make a declaration and a prayer before your family and your friends and before God that you will not have sex before you get married. And of course, Bill Clinton taught us that sex is only when the tab A goes into slot B. That I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky. Clinton did not get impeached for having sex in the Oval Office. Clinton got impeached for having bad sex in the Oval Office. I mean, if you ever know the details of what went on with a cigar in the side bathroom and the how Clinton's gack got on Monica Lewinsky's blue dress, it's really disconcerting. And the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the world, should not be having that kind of bad sex. Having said that, so they think that only having sex is when your penis is inserted into the vagina. And lo and behold, incidence of oral and anal STDs has skyrocketed in the Christian youth community. I wonder why.
PBA, the Christian University in Palm Beach, Florida.
What's that stand for, PBA?
Palm Beach Atlantic.
Right on.
I didn't go to it, but I heard about, there was rumored, it's even to the point where it was rumored that girls that went to PBA loved it and would, exactly what you're saying, take in the butt and do everything but before, so they would be quote unquote virgins.
Do everything in the butt.
Because if they did that, then they'd still be virgins.
Right. That's classic religion.
Classic.
You just got to find a way around. Every religion has it. It's ridiculous, of course. But it all stems from a desire to control people's sexuality.
And it doesn't work.
That's why sex in the pews. Because if we can address the spirituality of the importance of knowing that you actually are fine just the way you are. You don't do anything. You don't have to believe anything. And the ironic thing, what we're talking about right now, is scriptural. It's in the fucking Bible.
The fucking Bible.
Yes, it's in, and it's not in the entire thing, but it's in there in thousands of examples and in context. You got to read the thing in context. But what we want to do is help people, men and women, primarily heterosexual, although this could be applied to, because so much about it, this is control. But we're talking mostly about the male-female dynamic here.
And just to finish up and tie off my story, as far as the best guilty sex that I've ever had, it was in the middle of
Yes,
this.
we want to hear about your guilty sex.
This is a good story.
Of course, yes, of course. We all perked up in more ways than one.
In the midst of my commitment to abstinence, I had gone a long time without having sex, but the one time,
how long?
the longest I had been without having slot A and slot B sex was 1.5 years.
That's a long time, baby.
So, but that ended on Halloween, October 31st, when I met this female dressed, ironically, as a devil. She was wearing devil horns, had a red cape on, and was carrying around a little red trident. And so with that instance, the best guilty sex I've had.
How did that manifest itself?
I happen to be dressed in a leather suit of armor, carrying a sword.
Like a legionnaire?
Sure.
A re-legionnaire?
Ironic.
A Roman soldier, if you will? A centurion?
Oh, yeah.
And then, so what happened?
Well, she was a mutual friend, and we were kind of hanging out, and one thing led to the next, and before we know it, I was kind of sword fighting her. She was using her trident, and I was using my sword, and next thing, you know how sword fights end.
Yeah. Sometimes not well.
Sometimes not well.
How about in this case? Did it end well?
As in that moment, as soon as I got finished, I went home and just felt so guilt-ridden and ashamed of myself, and had to pray and confess and blah 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 blah.
And now, how do you feel about it?
It was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm thankful for it, actually.
Yes, indeed. So this whole issue of somebody having a really fun experience on Halloween with the Satan, with the devil,
Spiritualize that how you want.
is part and parcel to the issue that we have, is that people feel guilty about experiencing sexual pleasure. And they think that the manifestation of having sex with somebody who they're not married to is actually a draw from the devil.
Fuck that.
And that even there's a lot of religious sects that think that you can't have oral sex, you cannot have anything but missionary sex. Like if you do a doggy style, you're going straight to hell. if you participate in oral sex, I literally had a pastor teach this group that I was hosting that oral sex was sinful. So where does this come from? It comes from religion. It comes from a desire to control. And so getting back to my original thought, which was we all come from first of all, the fact that we all come from an original couple just speaks to the insanity of prejudice. I mean, because somebody has more melanin in their skin than somebody else or less, to think that they're any different or less than and more than you are is fucking absurd. But it goes to the issue of keeping us apart and separate and making us feel bad about ourselves and about each other. That's what religion does. It divides, separates, and seeks to conquer. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war. God damn it, man. That's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
So you look at the first. Where did this all start? It started at least as an example. Whether this actually happened or not, I happen to think something like it happened. And science now is verifying that there was an original couple. But you've got an original couple bare ass naked in a place that the Jewish scripture calls the Garden of Eden. And in the garden, God told Adam, this is, you guys, just, you can learn stuff from a fucking novel, for Christ's sake. You can learn stuff from the Bible, for God's sakes. Just, even if you don't think it's the most ridiculous concept in the world, Just shut the fuck up for a second and listen to me.
There's a reason the stories have been around for thousands of years.
God was said to he created Adam and Eve in his own image. They were like God.
Okay.
And God gave them freedom. They
All right.
were producing fucking paradise, for Christ's sake.
Sounds pretty nice.
God says you can do anything you want. Do anything. Go fucking anywhere in the garden. You can, there's no limitation to the places that Adam could stick it in Eve.
What about the animals?
We don't know how many animals were there, but
Well,
I suppose that would have been okay too. I mean, we'll get into bestiality at some other time. But so God says you can partake of any tree in the garden that you want, except there's one. Do not eat of the fruit, not an apple. It was a fruit. Apple has gotten a bad rap, although Steve Jobs has done a really nice job with Apple and. It was Apple, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, And I guess Steve Jobs redeemed the apple from the Garden of Eden. It wasn't an apple. It doesn't make a difference. It was a fruit. He said you can partake of any fruit of any tree that you want in the garden, except for the fruit of the tree of knowledge of the knowledge of good and evil. Seemingly like God was saying, listen, I'll set up your morality. Leave that one up to me. Don't judge anything. Good or bad, I'll tell you what's up eventually. That's my little interpretation at this moment. And so, but here comes the devil, the serpent. Yes, I know the story. This is a speaking serpent. It doesn't make a difference right now. I'm making a point here that Owen eventually hooked up with at Halloween at PBA for a
at FSU.
Oh, at FSU at a representation of that, and. The instruction for not partaking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was to Adam, was to the man. And the temptation for that fuck up did not come to Adam from the serpent. The serpent knew. The serpent was smart. He went to the woman first. And you guys, most of the time, the temptation for strife in a relationship starts with the woman. Why? We're going to get into all this over time. But most of the time, a woman, basically because women just have more words to talk. They're just looking for conflict. They're looking for excitement. It's intercourse. Let me tell you something. You want exciting intercourse.
Shit testing you.
Yeah. Who calls it shit testing? What is that outfit?
It's a vocabulary word in the pickup community. So there's this growing group of personalities in the cultural landscape that teach men how to different mindsets, strategies, and techniques, and it's a little bit in the personal development category.
But I thought you heard it specifically on a show on another podcast.
Oh, it's just kind of a word used
it's just
in this
out
community
there
as a phenomenon that women do to shit test you,
right?
To test how much of an alpha male you are, because they can't ask you, are you an alpha male? They gotta throw you these little shit tests to see how you respond.
And most of it is subconscious. Most of the stuff is we're doing it, and we're very unaware of what's actually happening. But it's been happening, and it's been happening since the fucking Garden of Eden. So Satan, the serpent, goes to Eve and says, hey, if you'll eat of that fruit, what? Okay, thank you. If you, I got the clock over here, by the way. If you partake of this fruit, you'll be like God. The serpent said to Eve. Well, Eve was deceived, and she was, she wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer in the garden that day. Because she was already like God. She didn't need that. So she partakes of the fruit. Nothing bad happens. Everything's chill. And then she offers it to her husband.
The ultimate shit test.
Yes, it was a shit test by Eve to Adam. And Adam, because when Eve shows up in the garden, here's Adam's response. Thank you, Lord. I really appreciate you sending me somebody that can make me meals and pray with me and will be a parenting partner. Is that what Adam said?
No.
No, he said, check it out. Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. We're talking some boning here.
Bound chicka wow wow.
We're talking flat. Of course, Adam was immediately turned the fuck on because that's just how God made us. Sorry, folks. God made men to be turned on by a hot ass pair of tits and a nice body, or a body anyway.
It's funny because I could just feel the people getting pissed off right now hearing this, but it's so.
I don't
at the
know.
core,
I
there's
hear
a
our
lot of
guest.
truth.
I hear our guest Jaclyn laughing in the background. Actually, if you're pissed off, just hold on. You're gonna get way more pissed off. Don't worry about it.
Guaranteed or your money back.
So Adam should have gone. Adam's instruction from God was, "You guard the garden." Adam, this is your job. Adam and Eve were equal in the eyes of God. Men and women are equal. We're not the same, thank God, but we're equal. The problem with the feminist movement, the extreme aspects of the feminist movement, is not only did they want to proclaim that women were equal, they should have equal rights, equal opportunities, et cetera, but they wanted women to be the same as men. Ladies and gentlemen, that will never happen. Men have to perform their function. Women have to perform their function in order for life to ensue.
This is a very sensitive topic in the cultural narrative right now. Is the idea of these gender roles, and that, yes, we are huge advocates of the idea that women are equal on the same level, no higher, no less than men, that we all have.
If somebody put a gun to my head, said, which is the superior sex, I would say the female sex. Women are far superior to men. But they're at least equal.
Right.
But they're not the same.
Right.
For the species to continue, for life to ensue, the male has got to insert his erect penis into a hopefully welcoming vagina and release his seed, which fertilizes the egg, which produce this. We're not the same.
The fact that men are way more disposable than women too. You know, we're the ones that take the more risks, because if we die, then there's still two people could repopulate the entire planet with a whole army of women. But if there was only two women left, you know,
that would be
no matter how many
that's
men,
a very good point.
It's problematic. So men are way more likely to do the risky behaviors and take these chances. And
if you haven't seen a picture of my partner Owen Pratt on Facebook or on the website sexandthepews.com, check him out. So other than you, obviously you would be a candidate for being one of the two men left, of course, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and you'd be happy to volunteer for that.
A volunteer's tribute.
Yeah.
Check me out on Instagram. Owen Pratt is my name. My current Instagram handle is Owen of Eden. It will probably likely change.
No, it's not. It's
Owen in the Pews.
It's Owen in the Pews by now. By the time this airs, I hope. In any case, who would the other man be? You think?
Who, the other man?
Yeah. We'll ask Jaclyn this question.
Ryan Gosling.
Okay. Well, I don't think Ryan Gosling would be the ultimate man, but we'll
Aquaman.
We'll have to ask Jaclyn what her opinion is, and we'll ask you. You can email us at any time at fun@sexandthepews.com. This is Glenn Klein along with Owen Pratt. It is a Sex in the Pews Hump Day Spectacular. So Adam, instead of saying no, Eve, no, we're already like God, honey. Now suck my cock, or let me go down on you, or fuck me good. No, because of the power of the fucking pussy, God damn it. He couldn't say no to her. He had to, he did, accede to her demand that he partake, and that's when everything fucked up. You guys, your women are, this, your women are going to, if they're a good woman, they're going to challenge you. Hopefully not in a spiteful way or a hateful way, but if they're going to, because that's good sex. We call interaction between people intercourse. Intercourse isn't just sex, but intercourse is sex. And you don't want uninvolved, unchallenging intercourse. So you want a woman who's going to challenge you, and women, you want a man who's going to be firm and hard and penetrating. A dick, in other words. We interchangeably use the term dick and asshole. That guy's a dick, that guy's an asshole in our society. Dicks and assholes are not the same thing. Assholes emit gaseous, nauseous fumes, toxins, and shit. Dicks, if they're that's if an asshole's working properly. Dicks, if they're working properly, are firm and erect and potent and penetrating and well positioned to do what? Two things.
Bring pleasure and life.
Yeah, to bring pleasure in life. That's what a working dick does. One of our goals here on Sex in the Pews is to redeem the worm dick. The worm, the worm dick. And also the word dick. And to also let guys know that women don't want to see your dick in a dick pic. We want to see them. They don't want to see that. At best, if a woman is sexually interested and she's digging you and she's vibing on you, the best she wants really is to see your dick disappear inside of her. And that's why we have the Dick Pic of the Week contest on the sexinthepews.com website. Check it out. You could win a free Got Splinters Sex in the Pews t-shirt for the best entry of the week. So Adam fucks up and all hell breaks loose. They get kicked out of paradise. They got all of a sudden they realize they had no shame. They literally they were walking around naked, didn't know it.
That's nice.
Yeah, but they weren't aware of it. Like as great a body as you have, and you do, Big O, and he's called Big O for a number of reasons. Would you walk outside the studio right now and just walk in public naked?
Not for free.
But you would be shamed because people would shame you. That's a shame.
That is a shame.
This whole free the nipple movement. Yes, the nipple should be freed. Now, listen. There should not be a law against women exposing their breasts. There just shouldn't be. We can. They should be able to too. That's equality. That's plain and simple. Now, whether that's good for society, whether that's good for an individual, that's a whole other thing. But the whole strife issue and the whole issue of how men and women interact, it goes back to the original. You guys, if you men can, in a firm but life-giving and pleasure-giving way, stand up to your women in a powerful, loving, a true dick who's firm, he understands that it's more blessed to give than receive. He understands that the woman comes first. This is not patronizing a woman. This is what a woman who is sexual cannot receive a flaccid, weak, limp dick. It doesn't work. And if she's straight, she doesn't want a pussy. She's already got one. She doesn't need another pussy. But a lot of women are drawn to the bad boys because the number one thing women look for, where men are looking for just youthfulness and sexiness and tits and ass, women, the number one thing, confidence. And so a lot of times women are drawn to the so-called bad boys because they are exhibiting really a fake confidence. Talk about fake news. It's a fake confidence. And eventually when the pressure is brought to bear, as it will on all relationships, the assholishness comes out. And these guys are a lot of times the ones that are abusive and that are stalkers and that do not treat women respectfully or equally. And then women are going like, why are men such jerks? Guys say all women are fucking crazy bitches. You hear that all the time. Well, let's bring on one right now, shall we?
We shall.
We know her, we love her. You're not going to want to live without her. She is a mother of three. She's a sales professional from the great city of Chicago. She's an artist, graduate of the University of Illinois. Please say hello and welcome into the pews the very lovely and talented Jaclyn Moore. Jaclyn!
Hey, how are you?
I have no complaints, but thank you for caring enough to ask. How are you?
I'm doing okay today.
I heard you laughing in the background with some of that stuff.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, so it's tell the beautiful humans your story a little bit. Where were you raised? When were you married? And how did that all go?
Grew up in Skokie. Little Town Skokie.
Skokie, Illinois. People around the country and the world will remember
that's true. Don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that they will remember Skokie because there was a famous Nazi rally there because Skokie used to be a predominantly Jewish community. So in the same way, so kind of if you remember last year when Charlottesville was targeted by the white supremacists, Skokie, Illinois was. And as opposed to what happened, I think wisely, the Jewish community by and large just ignored it. Let them do their protests. You have the right to protest, and it went away. No incidents, no problems. That's where Jaclyn is from, Skokie, Illinois.
That is true.
When did you get married?
I was married in 1988. I was kind of not real young, not real old, 24.
How did you guys
got married?
How did you guys meet?
This was in college. It was, the funny thing is, so I graduate college and I get married to somebody I met in college, and we were married a day before I realized it was a mistake.
The day before, huh?
And
should have planned the wedding for 2 days later.
I know. You know what? I was young and stupid, honestly, and I thought that that's what was expected of me. I was a virgin when I got married.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Freeze.
I know.
What, was that out of religious convictions?
It was more out of guilt. It wasn't religious.
In what way?
Not religious.
Well, why would you have articulated it as guilt?
It was what I thought was expected of me from where I grew up and family values, basically.
Was your family very religious?
My family's Jewish, but more not religious Jewish, more, what do I want to say?
Culturally Jewish.
Cultural, traditional, practicing, customary, not religious, I would say. It wasn't like religion was pounded down on me, although I did go to Hebrew school like you, Glenn. I was bat mitzvahed. I was confirmed.
Did you date much in high school or college?
In high school, nobody really from my own high school. A few guys from different high schools, and in college, a little bit more, I would say, in college.
And like the kids used to say when we were kids, how far did you go when you were in college?
Not very at all.
I mean, had you seen a penis in person? Say that 3 times. You see a penis in person, penis in person, penis in person.
In person, no.
The first penis that you ever saw live was your husband's.
Yes.
And what did you think of his penis when you saw it?
I was like, well, I'd seen them in books. I had taken anatomy in school. Oh, so actually, I had seen a lot of dead, hard penises in school.
Are they hard anatomy. When you die?
Of course, rigor mortis, that is, and of course, they're not that hard.
So now that I think about it, they were dead and hard and cold.
You will take this dead, hard penis out of my hand when I'm what was Charlton Heston's line when he was the president? All right.
No idea.
It was funny. Okay, continue with your dead, hard penises, please.
So I had seen a lot. I had examined a lot. I had felt a lot. I knew what they were, at least what they looked like dead. So unfortunately, I suppose my now ex-husband's kind of looked like that. It was dead. No.
Oh, shots fired.
Snap. What was your major in college that you were handling cold, hard, dead penises?
I had a double major. So one was communications and advertising, and the other one was medical record administration.
Oh, so it was the medical stuff.
Totally unrelated. I had changed my mind, I think it was sophomore year, something like that. And then I decided I wanted to finish what I started. So I finished my advertising, and I just added on to that my medical record administration. And then after I graduated in 4 years, got my advertising communications degree. I finished up with 5 more quarters to get my medical records, and that's where I was working. So
what are you hitting?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you hitting a cold hard dead penis right now?
I'm talking with my hands,
Well,
which is a problem I have.
Well, no, it's not a problem. You're
total
Jewish.
gym.
You've already established that. We Jews and Italians, we speak with our hands.
I
But
was speaking with my hands.
but don't hit anything. It's distracting from your story about the cold hard dead
Okay,
penises.
sorry. I'll
All
sit
right.
on them.
So the night before you were getting married, you knew that was a mistake.
I did. As a matter of fact, what's really funny, okay, so go back to I'm a virgin, right?
For the very first time.
I was a virgin. My parents knew I was a virgin. And it was important to them. It was important to me to please my parents, kind of thing. I think that's where the guilt came from,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Anyway, so they knew, because parents know things, they knew that this marriage would be a mistake. They knew it. My mom pulled me aside a week before the wedding.
Jesus Christ, dude. Your mom pulled you aside a week before the wedding?
Begged me.
Oh my God.
She said, call this off.
She was not your typical Jewish mother, your mother, is what you're saying.
No, she begged me. She said, call this thing off. All you have to do is give me the word. I will make all the phone calls. I will return all the gifts. I will do everything. Just go live with the guy. I'm telling you, you won't want to marry him.
By the
That's
way,
what she said.
Wait. This wasn't in like 2000. This was in 88, you said?
This was 80. Actually, I was telling you, my second marriage was in 88. My first one was in 1984.
Oh, so you were telling us about your first marriage in 84.
Or actually, I forgot. It's so long ago. It was actually 85 that I
all
got
right,
married.
whatever. But
the
your
first time.
Now, for a mother to come to a daughter and say, live with him first, it was there, but it was not like today. Now it's not like even a second thought. That's how.
Right, but here's the person who knew I was a virgin. Being a virgin was important. That whole thing, and she knew that this marriage was a mistake, and she begged me to call it off and just go live with him. So now she's telling me to do the forbidden thing. So what did you think my reaction was to that? Obviously,
you rebelled against your mother.
I rebelled against even though I knew it was good for me to call it off, I said, there is no way. I am stubborn. I'm going through with this if it kills me.
Well,
didn't do that.
Kind of did.
All right. So you were married for a brief time the first time.
Right.
And that was the first time you saw a penis that looked like the dead cold penises of your medical research.
Yes.
And were you attracted to this fella? It's pretty much
No.
good. No, it's a yes or no question. No. So all right, so
no.
You weren't physically attracted. Is he a nice guy?
I thought he was a nice guy.
Was he handsome? Was he handsome?
Not really.
Not really. All right, so when did you have sex the first night of your honeymoon, or did you have a honeymoon?
Yeah, we did. It was very nice honeymoon.
Where'd you go?
Do I even remember? Oh, Disney World, Florida.
Not too far from where we're sitting right now, here in beautiful Tampa Bay. And so, did you have sex the first night that you were married?
Yes, we did.
And how did that feel?
You know what? In all honesty, at the time, it was like this. Seriously?
Like, this is what I've been missing? I wasn't missing much? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was kind of like,
was he a virgin?
No.
Yeah. So it was very disappointing. That marriage, how long did that last?
Well, literally, I'm not kidding here. I came home from the honeymoon and I called my parents up, and I remember this discussion, at least part of it, like it was yesterday. And I said, you know what? I think I made a mistake. And my mother's words to me were, guess what? You made your bed, you sleep in it.
Oh, boy.
We're done, pretty much. So she said, you went through with it. The first year is going to be hard. She gave me that lecture. The first year is going to be hard, blah, 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 blah. You made your bed, sleep in it. So I tried. And about 10 minutes, it seemed like 10 minutes, 10 months later.
Good Freudian slip there.
I left. That was it.
We are talking with Jaclyn Moore on Sex in the Pews. This is Glenn Klein, Owen Pratt in the official Sex in the Pews studios here in Tampa, Florida.
Boom.
So you get divorced and then you get married again. How
kind of like
how soon?
Go.
Had you been with many people in between?
Kind of yeah, it wasn't long after that. Well, so I got divorced. By the time I got divorced, it was probably 1986. Met my next husband actually before my divorce, like literally a month after I moved out from the first one, and was dating him while I was separated, going through the divorce. And then I got married in 88.
And
kind of jumped from the frying pan to the fire. As
Owen was a little premature in his question, which young men will be, and men will be in general, premature. Did you have any experiences in between your first and second husband?
Oh yes, lots.
Really?
I did.
So you got out there and you were busy. Like, if you had to say, how many men in between hubby 1 and hubby 2, if you had to say?
Now I'm running through the little Rolodex in my mind, and I got this one, that one, and I'm picturing not the faces. I'm picturing. Okay.
What are you picturing, Jack?
8 maybe.
So 8 guys from 86 to 88 ish.
Yeah.
That's a respectable number. So you went from being a virgin and having like bad to little sex with your first husband to really having some experience. Did you have any positive experiences during the course of those 8 gentlemen?
Oh yeah.
And what would you say was distinguished your positive experiences from the ones that were not so positive?
I would say the mind being engaged in it, literally, like knowing that both of us were engaged in what we were doing. Maybe engaged is the wrong word, but we were present.
No, that's a
good
good
right
word. Engagement is a good word. And so were one of the 8 your second husband?
Yes.
And how was that sex?
It was pretty good,
Mm-hmm. But
when
not
we had it.
but not as good as with some of the other ones.
Right.
And did you feel you had a more psychic connection with your second husband, or why him? Because he asked?
Here's the problem. Oh, you mean because he asked to have sex or asked to get married?
No, that he asked you to marry him.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Okay, so we talked about people being chaste. See, I agree people should be chaste, but I don't mean CHASTE. I mean CHASED.
Yeah, of course.
Which is, in my opinion, it's a little give and take between people. And I think that men like to do the chasing primarily, or they like to think they're doing the chasing. So back to your question, you asked me about him. I mean, with my first husband, I actually asked, it's not that I proposed, I kind of brought up the subject, and then we decided it would be what we were supposed to do, and we did it. We got married. With the second one, he was the one who asked, and I think that appealed to me in a way. Making sense?
Yes, of course. Did you say yes right away?
No, it was a stupid, the way he asked me wasn't good enough.
You made him do it over again?
Kind of.
You made him take a mulligan on the proposal?
Well, here's the thing, and
What happened was,
I'm far from materialistic. I don't, one of the things I do, I make jewelry. I don't even wear jewelry. I don't care about those things. And so here I am with him all weekend, the whole weekend with this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I go home and I'm trying to catch up with weekend things, doing my laundry, sitting on the floor, watching. At the time, I had like a 13-inch black and white non-remote TV. This is way back.
I'm glad that you continue that explanation of the 13-inch black and white, what you had. That just
you like that it turned out to be a TV?
Not necessarily.
I know, I was getting your hopes up a little bit, but it was a TV. And I'm sitting there on the floor watching the TV, whatever, doing nothing, doing laundry, and my phone rings, and it's him. And I just saw him, right? And we're talking, and he asked me to marry him on the phone. I said, seriously? So
I asked my now former wife to marry me after a massive fight that we had. We were at camp together. She was working at the camp that we eventually bought, but I brought her to camp, and we had a massive fight. You talk about a shit test. And instead of just like giving her some space, she was the assistant nurse, and I went down to the camp infirmary, and she was laying and crying on top of her cot, and I got on top of her and I said, "Will you marry me?" And,
well, that's sweet.
And she said, "Let me think about it."
ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just you know, Jaclyn, how big a deal people make out of engagements now. I mean, it's just, and now kids are making a big deal about asking somebody to prom. Have you seen these fucking videos?
No.
That's
A
crazy.
nightmare. It's like the prom proposal is like a pre-proposal. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. That's fucked up. The whole industry of romance and honeymoons and weddings. The wedding industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the divorce industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's why we need to attack this whole. We are wasting.
A lot richer.
We are wasting so much money and energy and all right. So you get married to this guy. How's the sex after that?
How's what? Sorry.
How's the sex after you got married to the guy you already had sex with, and it was pretty good?
It was nothing once we got married.
What?
Honestly, I think we have 3 kids. Honest to God, we had sex 6 times, maybe 10 max. That's it.
What?
In 23 years. Mm-hmm.
As someone who's never been married, the thought of the honeymoon sex, first off, has always seemed to me like it would be the most electric, romantic, passionate, intense sexual experience ever. From an outsider's unexperienced perspective.
Well, you are experienced. You're just not experienced in getting married. You're thinking like a week's vacation. How many times would I fuck in a week with nothing else to do other than enjoy the sun or the sights or whatever? And so
is that what you're talking about, or just the night?
No, that's what
all of the above.
That's what Owen's thinking. He was like, how could if it's 6 to 10 times?
Amazing.
You'd fuck 10 times during the week, probably at least.
As much as I could.
Yes, so maybe more than 10 times.
Probably.
And here, poor Jaclyn Moore was not. She was Jaclyn less. She was
exactly
10 times in 20. What were you doing in 23 years? What was he doing?
We had a bad marriage, but I would say, it was probably good for about 2 years. But even so, he was very busy. I was very busy, and then when we started to fight, he used it as control. He basically wouldn't allow us to be intimate, of any kind of intimacy, because he was always angry with me for breathing.
Yeah, he was not.
Let's be clear about that.
He was.
Now that you mention it, your breathing is actually a little.
Is it too loud?
Seriously, Jaclyn, you really need to control yourself over there. Okay.
Why is that?
Okay.
The breathing is just.
Are you enjoying it?
I just need to control the situation because of the way her breathing is making me feel.
Is that a microphone in your pocket, or are you just happy to hear Jaclyn?
What's it doing to you?
Ooh. Now this is doing something completely different to me. What do you want it to do?
Silence. Radio silence. Is that what this is called?
Just letting the sit in the tension for a little bit. Just lather in it.
Okay.
I'm a little aroused, I must say.
Are you? I'm sitting here in my room and I have my diffuser on, like an air diffuser, you know, aroma.
Yeah.
And it's making little dripping noises. I thought you were going to say you heard that instead of my tapping.
Let's hold on. Don't say anything. Let's see if we can hear the dripping.
I
can't hear it. Yeah. We couldn't hear it before. All right. So your husband is using sex as a weapon. A lot of times women do. Typically, not all the time, you guys, but typically men want sex more than women do. Typically, not all the time. And obviously, if it's a healthy sexual relationship, there's a commonality. I mean, with me and my wife, we enjoyed each other about the same rate, pretty much. I mean, that was one of the great things we were compatible with, amongst other things. But so you have sex 10 times. We're going to say 10 times in 23 years. What were you doing? Did he turn out to be gay? First of all, that's got to be a question.
No, he didn't.
Okay, and
he was like having Alexa in the bathroom, in the bedroom. I mean, Alexa, because every time I would approach him, because I would be the one who, you know, I wanted a loving relationship, I would get what time it was, how many patients he has to see in the hospital in the morning, and what time he has to wake up. It was like a recording.
Is he a doctor?
He was yeah.
Right on. And then you had some positive sexual experiences in between your two marriages.
I did.
Were you orgasmic when you were younger?
No. And in all fairness to me, I didn't know what I was missing.
Yes, this is a problem to this day, unfortunately, with a lot of women. When we were kids, the statistic was 30% of women were orgasmic. 30%. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you look at a vagina, not a dead cold hard vagina, but a vagina, the only 25% of women have the clitoris at the entrance of the vagina that will get stimulation during intercourse. And then if a guy doesn't last long enough, you're screwed. But you're screwed while not being screwed. And then, of course, the clitoris goes up 25%, 25%, 25% higher. And unless a guy knows what he's doing or a woman is willing to take care of themselves, then she's not going to get off unless she gets off herself. So your clitoris must not be right at the entrance, correct?
Correct.
Right. All right. So you
anatomically located somewhere else.
Right.
It's not on my nose or my shoulder, but it's in that area.
Right. And it's nobody's fault. It's just genetics, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the way you come out. And Owen Pratt did not come out thinking, I have a goal of being 6'4" and just have no body fat and just be just fucking handsome as fuck. It's just. Not you've enhanced it. I mean, you work at it. I know you do. But you just.
Are you really 6'4"?
I am.
I couldn't see that from your picture.
Anything else you'd like to know about him?
Well, what is it that they say? It's generally as big as the distance from your thumb to your. I don't know. Is it?
She goes right.
You're gonna have to be a little more articulate than that.
A little bit more specific.
If I was in front of a computer and I would Google.
Let's just say his nickname is not Big O for no reason. Let's just say it that way, okay?
Okay.
We'll leave it at that for right now. We'll get into that probably eventually.
Got some interesting statistics on orgasms. The female here, if you're curious.
Owen is determined that this show about opinion and just thoughts and theories needs to have some statistics to back it up. This is
grounded in studied.
Yes, this is his fucking economics degree and
a psychology degree
yeah.
too.
All right, go.
Well, apparently, depending on the study, 10 to 40% of women report having difficulty or an inability to reach orgasm. However, orgasms get better with age. Studies show that 61% of women ages 18 to 24 experienced orgasm the last time they had sex, which is higher than I would have thought.
What was the percentage?
61% of women ages 18 to 24 experienced orgasm the last time they had sex. 70% of women in their 40s and 50s report orgasm the last time they had sex.
This is a huge improvement from when we were kids, Jaclyn. Thank you, Owen, for that just fascinating bit of numbers. Because I'll tell you 2 words why this has improved dramatically. Oprah Winfrey.
Boom.
She had the God damn it, what were those? The Berman sisters. Remember the sexologists on all the time?
Yeah, was it Laura Berman? Was that her name?
And I think they were twins. But in any case,
I don't know.
she was like, that caused a massive ripple effect in a positive way for the female. But having said that, only 25% of women have their clits at the entrance, so they're not. Generally speaking, a guy that's fit can get to a clitoris that's just above the entry of the vagina with his pubic bone. Certainly, you can reach around or reach underneath there, and there are vaginal orgasms. I know there are anal orgasms. I know, but the center of pleasure is that clitoris, and so you weren't having orgasms in between husband 1 and husband 2. What happened during the 23 years of when you were having relatively a sexless marriage?
Nothing, honestly.
You didn't have it. Wait, hold on. You didn't have an orgasm in 23 years?
Exactly.
When
I didn't have one until my late 40s when I was getting divorced.
And how did that happen, just out of curiosity?
What, that I had one?
How did you finally have an orgasm?
What was that like?
It was great.
I know, but of course it was great.
Should have been there.
Yes, but how did it happen?
It happened with my Bob, my battery operated boyfriend.
Oh, so at that point, during the 23 years of sexless marriage, did you have sex toys?
I didn't.
And then
I didn't, and the sex that I had was Bill Clinton sex. The bad what he thinks is sex.
The bad sex.
The missionary sex. That was it.
Bill Clinton said that.
That kind of sex that I can't do a Bill Clinton, but.
Would you like to do a Bill Clinton?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I have a Bill Clinton story. I met him once.
Do tell.
And it's nothing great. He was autographing his book. I bought his book on eBay, and it came with a ticket to meet him for the signing. So I went and stood in line for hours in Chicago. Get into this room. They have like a big banquet table set up with the books there, and then where you go through the line, and he, with all the security, and he shakes your hand, and he signs your book, and you leave. So of course people were saying stuff to him, and I just here's an idiot, right? I walk up to him, and the only thing I could think of is saying, when I looked right into his eyes, is, "God, you're handsome." Like, really? That's what I said to Bill Clinton. Well, thank you very much. And that was it. And he signed my book. And I left.
That's it. At least Monica Lewinsky went to the White House as an intern with intention. She told her friends she was bringing her presidential knee pads with her.
Right.
She had
didn't do
intention.
any of that. He didn't stain my book or anything.
God
he just
damn
signed
it.
it.
When that happens. All right. So yes, Bill Clinton back in the day was considered very good looking and et cetera. And he is obviously a very charismatic man. With the whole Me Too movement, and we'll get into that on another show.
Get deep into that.
That's what she said. And then the whole issue of, especially in light of what we're talking about, which is having men actually be able to be strong men. But Owen talked about earlier that because men are so dispendable, that really you only need a couple men, and you need an army of women to keep the race going. And we've already established, Jaclyn, that Owen Pratt would be the first prototypical guy that you would want to. He's not really blushing. He's actually pretty confident at this point. But who would, besides Owen, who would be, like, in your mind, like the go-to guy if we had to populate the earth with all the different women that would be willing to do it? Who would be the
Hands
guy?
down?
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Really?
Oh,
Get off my plane.
Get off my cock. I'm tired.
Oh my, Harrison Ford, hands down.
Is there a particular movie in which you prefer him?
Any and all. I like the Indiana Jones type, really.
Harrison Ford went to my high school. Or I went to Harrison Ford's high school.
Really?
Maine East Township, Maine High School. What was it? Maine Township High School East. Harrison Ford.
Illinoisian.
Yes. The most famous student at Maine East was Hillary Rodham Clinton. The second most was Harrison Ford. The third most was the actress Karen Black, who unfortunately died young. The fourth most famous was Scott Cohn, who was an NBC news reporter. And I'm the fifth. I'm the fifth most famous.
There you go. Wow.
Wisconsin Broadcasting Association Award winner.
Shameless self-plug.
Co-host of Sex in the Pews. My life is exploding right before me. It's just beautiful.
That's what she said.
Thank you. So Jaclyn, you heard our discussion before you came on. I could have just said before you came, but when is the last time you came, by the way? Now that you're all coming because of Bob.
This morning.
Yes, that's what we want to hear, ladies and gentlemen. Orgasms are good. Get one.
They are good. I try to do one every day at least.
Yes.
The study actually says they relieve pain.
And
here's
stress
the secret.
and depression. Yes, please.
Honestly.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so everybody, well, not everybody, but everybody I know, my age, we're all concerned about our weight. And I check the scale every day, even though they say you shouldn't. And I find that when I use my Bob, it burns a lot of calories.
Of course it does. Remind the beautiful humans what Bob stands for again.
Battery operated boyfriend.
When's the last actual boyfriend you had?
A few years ago.
And are you dating?
On and off when I find somebody worth my time, which they're few and far between these days, actually.
When's the last time you had sexual relations with a man named not Bill Clinton?
It was a few months ago, I would say.
So
I think it was like November.
So this is a bit of a dry spell for you.
It's a little bit of a dry spell.
Yeah. But Bob's taking care of business.
Bob takes care of business. He doesn't talk back to me. I could put anything on the TV I want. I can eat anything I want. He doesn't complain.
No,
He's really good.
Doesn't
he
fart.
fits in my pocket if I want to take him somewhere. Easy.
And do you take Bob somewhere?
Yeah, I don't have to pay for an extra plane ticket for him.
Do you ever partake of Bob while you're like in a Chicago traffic jam, bumper to bumper on the Kennedy or the Edens or somewhere?
No, I've never actually done it.
You really should try.
While I'm driving, I don't want to be distracted.
No. Well, you should try. But how long does it take you to get off with Bob?
It's kind of almost embarrassing to say 5 minutes.
No, you're giggling.
It's true. I mean, you know what?
Why do you think it's embarrassing? Is that long or short?
Well, I can. You know how with men they like to edge. That the word we're looking for?
Well, that's a very good word, edging or edge.
Yeah.
Maybe some men do. If they've got some game, they will do that.
Right, and I will try to do that but if I'm in a hurry, I've got somewhere to be, I just want to real quick, I could do it real quick.
Well, 5 minutes is not necessarily real quick. There's some women. I had a girlfriend of mine that she had the hood of her clitoris pierced, and I was like, "How's that working for you?" And she really liked it a lot, and she was like, "Dude, I can cross my legs and come." I was like,
that's interesting.
I was like, "You're coming at work underneath your desk?" She was like, "Yep."
Jackie's thinking about going to the tattoo and piercing shop.
So no.
That's interesting.
5 minutes.
No, but what I meant by 5 minutes, that's not for coming the first time. That's like I'm done. I gotta go. I gotta go somewhere. I gotta get dressed and go. But literally, sometimes it takes me 30 seconds.
Right.
But I'm talking multiples.
Do you understand, Jaclyn, that if men could come the way women do, that we would never leave the house? If men were men and could come multiple times, time after time after time, within moments of each, we'd never leave the house.
And then get up and go somewhere. I know. It's like you're like one time and then you die a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's just you'll have to talk to God about that one, because that is how we were created. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that, ladies and gentlemen, about how men and women are different. All you need to know about the difference between men and women are our sex organs. Men are out there. Women are in there. Men are visually and externally stimulated, and women are internally and emotionally stimulated. These are general things, you guys. I make statements that are generally true. You can go to the bank on generally saying that most women have tits, or you can say just generally women have tits. You could say generally men have penises. That's. But let me tell you something. Sometimes guys are born without a penis. Sometimes women are born without tits. But we're dealing with the most amount of people to help the most amount of people that we can on Sex in the Pews. Amen.
Amen. And hallelujah.
To you, brothers and sisters. Did you enjoy this, Jaclyn?
Yes, this was fun.
Yes, we will do it again. And by the way, guys, I never suggest after having sex to ask the woman how it is. How was it? If you have to ask how was it, that's not a good sign. You should know, and don't ever forget, ladies and gentlemen, the woman comes first. That's the attitude of a dick. That's the attitude of a gentleman. That's the attitude of a mensch, of an alpha dog. The woman comes first. For the bulk of human history, sex was for the man. Even Jaclyn said that growing up, she didn't even know about the clitoris situation. That's fucked up. If you weren't a woman that didn't have her clitoris at the entrance of the vagina and in the few moments that a guy was fucking you, you get off. There were billions of women throughout history that fucked, that had babies, that never had an orgasm. Don't get me started on the whole situation in the Islamic world where they have this fucking female circumcision at 12 years old where they mutilate or remove the girls' clitorises. That's for another show. We're having so much fun. And then I went there.
Yeah. Well,
that's fucked up.
What a way to put a sock in it.
Kinky.
Thanks for joining us, and we will look forward to many more conversations in the future with Jaclyn Moore. She is from Chicago. She's in her 50s. She is apparently quite orgasmic these days, and we're happy to report that she's an artist, and she is a contributing member of the Sex in the Pews family. Thank you so much, Jaclyn. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will gather next time to be in the pews with you on Friday. Where scheduled is the very lovely and talented Dina Lynn, and she has a great orgasmic story. I know of that story personally, so we'll look forward to that. You're fading, bro. I can tell.
I haven't eaten today.
Why?
I was working and
you're busy. Yeah,
busy.
We got to get Owen some food, ladies and gentlemen, and but you don't have to get him any dates. Don't send him any pictures. He's fine. He's
busy enough. All right.
He's good to go. But we appreciate you joining us. Check us out at sexinthepews.com. Sign up for the G-Spot newsletter and participate in the Sex in the Pews Dick Pic of the Week contest. Read about that at sexinthepews.com. And until next time, this is Glenn Klein.
And Owen Pratt, and find us on Instagram at Sex in the Pews.
Saying, Shalom, everybody.
Sex in the pews. Sex in the pews. Sex in the pews.
Sex in the pew.
Bitches.
Sex